From the Coconut Ballroom here at Merv Griffin's Resort Casino Hotel in the boxing capital of the world of Atlantic City, New Jersey, Corona Extra proudly presents Heavyweight Explosion and is approved by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, the Honorable Larry Hazard Sr. Commissioner, the Honorable Jerry Gormley Chairman. Members of the board include Gary Shaw and Al Daniels. Our Deputy Commissioner is Lawrence Wallace. The Chief Physician in attendance at ringside this evening is Dr. Frank B. Doggett, along with Dr. Dominic F. Coletta, Jr. Our judges, John Stewart, Deborah Barnes, and John Riley. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round heavyweight bout, referee Ed Cotton. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First, in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the blue trim. He weighed in at an even 224 pounds. All the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan, he is undefeated in 10 pro bouts with 4 knockouts. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Buster Mathis Jr. Mathis. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the white trunks with the black trim. He weighed in at an even 240 pounds. From Charlotte, North Carolina, he has 13 wins, 18 losses, 2 draws with 8 knockouts. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Starvin Mark Young.
Boxers, you both received your instructions. Obey my commands. Let's touch gloves to have a good, clean fight.
Well, Ed Cotton with some short instructions. The tail of the tape, you see that Young at 29, Buster Mathis just a pup at 23. Slight reach advantage of 4 inches there by Mathis. Could be one of the telltale signs that Young tries to get inside. There you see some of the particulars of those that will be judging this fight, and they waste no time coming into the center of the ring and banging away in round 1 of the scheduled 10-rounder. Buster Mathis getting some punishment here by Mark Young, administering some of his own, and these heavyweights have started to rumble early.
They're not wasting any time feeling each other out. This is going to be an interesting fight here. Mark Young, he's a wild man, and Buster, I guess, has seen some tapes of him and knows, you know, don't let Mark Young get cute on you, get the crowd into this fight, because that's just what he likes to do, get the crowd in his favor with his, you know, animated tactics here. Here's going into it now. He's going to move around a little bit. Buster's going right to him.
Buster Mathis, one of those guys, you take a look at him at 10-0, you would not judge him as being one of the up-and-coming young contenders in the heavyweight division. But this book has an inside story that we'll see if it pans out today as Young and Mathis exchange right above us. Listen to this crowd as they're really pumped up early here at Resorts in Atlantic City. 224 pounds Mathis, 240 pounds Young, and they haven't stopped since the opening bell.
No, they're getting after it here. People say, they ask me, is Mark Young going to be able to stay in there with Buster Mathis? You know, Mark Young, he gave George Foreman 5 tough rounds before he got tired, took that fight on short notice, got stopped in 7, but, you know, he has got some notice in getting ready for this fight, and he's been working with Bruce Seldon, who's also a quick-handed fighter like Buster Mathis Jr. He says he's really going to, Young doesn't throw his punches the right way. He's very strong. He's an arm puncher, but at the same time, he gets them going.
Well, this is almost one of those fights. Okay, you hit me 7 times, and I'll hit you 8 times. You know, it's one of those type fights here early in round 1. Heavyweights certainly not starting out slowly in the first round, as maybe be the normal case for you with a minute to go in round number 1.
The question is, who will be the one that will be able to keep this pace up? We've seen Buster Mathis Jr. keep it up for 10 rounds.
Buster is 10-0. 3 of the wins have come by knockout. And again, he went 10 solid rounds with Levi Billups, was knocked down in the 9th round, turned around and knocked Billups down, and won the unanimous decision here on the heavyweight explosion. And once again is Mathis with his back to you, white with the blue stripes. And of course, Mark Young is almost in the solid white or gray trunks here in Atlantic City.
I think they used to be white.
They probably were. He has been fighting down in the Florida area, just moved back to Charlotte, North Carolina, been there for a little over a year in training. And as he has come out strong in round number 1, these 2 heavyweights have at least the anticipation of the crowd growing as they come to the closing rounds of this first round. And they continue to pound away at each other at the end of the round. this ring may be tilting a little before this is over. Mark Young, 240. Mathis at 224. Look at Mark Young as he sets down there with Bill Early, who'll be working with him in his corner. Did that surprise you, Bob? They came out that quickly in the first round and pounded on each other like they did.
Well, I think that, you know, Buster's people know that Mark's an animated kind of a guy. They wanted to go right to him, try to get the nonsense out of the way. But as you could see twice, when Buster landed right hands on him, Mark, you know, one time he laid his head out of the ring like it had been knocked off, and the other time he let out a yell. But he's just trying to, you know, he's trying to psych the mind of this young kid he's in there with today, and you use the benefit of all the experience that he's had.
So the two fighters taking this 1-minute respite, and you've got to believe that these two heavyweights are going to use all of that 60 seconds they're awarded, as they have had quite a competitive first round of their opening of a 10-round scheduled fight here in Atlantic City. Welcome back to our heavyweight explosion as we begin round number 2. Buster Mathis Jr. in the white with a blue stripe, fighting on with Mark Young. Let me read one of the rules to you. Accidental butts or elbows, if they have fought less than the normal half of the fight, which would be 5 rounds in this case, they would rule that if a fighter is not able to continue after an accidental headbutt or, of course, an elbow, it would be called a draw. However, if it goes after 5 rounds, they'd go to the scorecards in that same eventuality. The reason I mention that, because both camps have mentioned they've got to have a little fear of headbutts for the way these two guys go at each other.
Well, they are. They both talked about that before the fight, and there's always a chance, even if a guy's not known for it, you get two guys in here the same height and they're both coming forward, their heads can come together.
Wow, that first round, I was a little far-fetched as far as trying to come up with a winner. I ruled it almost a draw first round, even though both had some good moments there in that first round.
You know, I don't think anybody took over this fight at all in that first round.
You can see Mark Young possesses a pretty good right hand. Last win for Young after losing 2. Glenn McQuarrie beat him in Las Vegas in May. He lost also in April in 10 rounds to Art Tucker. His last win came in November of '92 with a 4-round win over Rick Honeycutt. Now they momentarily stop the action here as there's some people along the side, apparently a mouthpiece coming out. I did not notice the mouthpiece coming out. They're going to wash that off and then put it back in with Buster.
Buster spit his own mouthpiece off.
Keep in mind a continuation of that particular activity, and referee has an opportunity, first of all, to deduct points, and secondly, to disqualify if it continues. All right, they've stopped the action here in round 2, and they're back at it here in the second round. A little bit pale in comparison to that fireworks in the first minute and a half of round number 1. What a hectic.
It really was, but you see Mark Young getting down like I told you. I mean, he gets low, and he's coming out of that. He's really surprising Buster with his aggression here in the second round. Landing some good clean shots, and Buster's returning the favor.
Buster punching off the counter. Young just rearing back with that right hand. They exchange. Mathis now gets the upper hand. The crowd's behind it. On the ropes is Young. He tries to fight out of there. Buster won't let him off the ropes, though. One punch and the fight is over from either side. Young looks not too bad for the wear that he took a lot of punches there, but Buster also was fed a lot of leather.
Both these fighters are used to having a lower center of gravity than their opponents. Oh, really? You know, they get down in that pocket there, and these guys are, you know, pushing with each other in there, working, trying to establish which one's stronger, which one's going to get that good position.
Both these guys look like a couple of crawdads going at each other from time to time. You can see there, it runs in kind of spurts. And we had quite a spurt a moment ago here in the second round. Closing seconds of the second. It has been so far a very entertaining fight, and we've only fought not quite 6 minutes here. With the crowd already feeling they've got their money's worth, we hope you're enjoying as well. Our heavyweight explosion from Resorts International in Atlantic City. Retaliated and took a shot. Referee Ed Cotton was between that punch and that of Buster Mathis. And Ed Cotton really leading him the riot act across the way to Mark Young. An unexpected punch from 29-year-old Young. Ed Cotton, it's a pretty good sized man of his arm. Let's take a look at this. Look at this action, Bob, in the corner.
Shots and counter shots by both men. Mark Young's initiating this action here, but then you'll see Buster answering back on his own. Excellent exchange here.
Once again, after the round came to a close, there's Ed Cotton. That's at the end of the round when the bell sounds. And now Young took a shot at him and hit him right in the rump.
Yeah, that was just a little
love tap.
Love tap there from Mark.
There's another good look at Mark Young as he gets ready to answer the bell in round number 3. They're set for 10 in the heavyweight division. This is the 3rd round of our heavyweight explosion from Resorts in Atlantic City. Corona Extra bringing you the biggest and baddest guys in the world battling here on the Explosion. Sam Smith along with Bob Spagnola. We've got Mathis. He's on the right and Young on the left.
Speaking of crawfishing, as we were in the last round, I'm doing a little of that myself. I got both rounds even here in this fight to start. No one's, really taking. I'm really impressed with Mark Young, but I feel like what's going to happen in this fight is Buster's going to keep up this work rate, and then Mark's not going to be able to, and Buster's going to take control of this fight. But Young, he's letting it all hang out, and he's trying to, like I said, he's using all the benefits of all that experience to shake up this young man.
Well, Mathis, on my scorecard, I thought about the 4 or 5 punch combination he had just before the end of the round might have stolen it in the minds of the judges. So I gave him the 10-9 round, so we'll see how that plays out. By the way, Buster Mathis, who normally trains under his father, Buster Mathis Sr., who himself in the mid-60s was a top contender fighting people like Ali and Quarry and also Joe Frazier. But he's been a little ill, but Buster Jr. told me that he's feeling much better. We're very happy to note that for you as we're almost midway through this, the 3rd round.
And then again in this round, Buster now he's boxing a little bit more from the outside, trying to start to establish his jab in this fight because Mark really doesn't have much of a jab. Although, it's hard not to say he does. He's got a straight left hand, but he throws us from such crazy angles. But Buster seems like he's trying to establish himself a little bit more in this round, and Mark's resting a little bit more.
By the way, Bob Spagnola, of course, a manager of boxers down in the Texas area, including world champion of the world, Orlando Canizales, also got a heavyweight, and as a matter of fact, he picked up the win over Young, and you must have been sweating that a little bit when Mr. Savarese was fighting.
Young gave him terrible trouble. I mean, he flew 6'5", and Mark fights at about 5 foot tall, so he gave him such good work that we've used him as a sparring partner since then. He's a good kid and a hard worker.
Lou Savarese, again, one of the heavyweights, handled by Bob Spagnola, who works with us at ringside here in Atlantic City. You can see that Young, he comes out with a pretty good left jab, follows it with the right hand, so he's got some good boxing skills, as does certainly Buster Mathis.
I shouldn't say that Mark doesn't have a jab, but he's so ambidextrous, he's have to turn around and do the same thing with the right hand.
Exactly. Very limited amateur career for Young. Fought only 2 times, had 2 knockouts, but said boxing was not in his cards at that time of his life. Trains at the Johnny Wilson Gym in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Buster's people know that he's got to establish his jab. That's what he's got to do to set the pace of this fight. And, he doesn't need to get worked into all the clowning and everything and the animation of Mark Young. He needs to just stay and be very focused.
Both fighters again will use that stool for their comfort for the next 60 seconds as Mathis and Young have battled through 3. And again, you almost can try to flip a coin on this one because neither fighter has been able to take control of the other. Mathis, however, did a pretty good job in the 3rd round of at least manhandling Young is again to the body, upstairs, and that's one of the strong parts. He'll hit you where you're not.
Yeah, good combinations by Buster Mathis Jr. there in that 3rd round. I think won it for him.
That, by the way, is Brian Lee working inside the ropes with Buster Mathis. On the other side, Bill Early working over there with Mark Young. Young, 29, 6 feet, 240. 13, 18, and 2. That does not tell you how good he can come in and fight you as an opponent because he's fought very well. So far, gets undefeated Buster Mathis as they get ready for the 4th round. Heavyweight explosion from Atlantic City. Buster Mathis against Mark Young. Young on the right. And Mathis again and Young. Boy, I mean to tell you, it was toe-to-toe in the 1st round. Quietened down a little bit in the 2nd. Picked up a little steam in the 3rd. And you can see they're right back at it here in round number 4.
Yeah, they're trying to pace themselves more. The thing about opponents, just the word itself, Sam. You take a guy like Mark Young, 13, 18, the records, they mean nothing. If a guy doesn't have a manager behind him that's looking out for him, protecting him, everybody, guys like Fred Pendleton are a perfect example of what you get. You know, you got to protect a fighter as you're developing him, and there's no fighter that's so good. And I don't care if it's Mike Tyson or Ray Robinson. No fighter, you know, if you just send him anywhere to anybody's hometown, there went the mouthpiece of Mark Young, I believe. But you know, no fighter is so good that he can overcome all those obstacles. And you know, Mark Young's an example of a guy that's obviously always been put in. I don't think he's ever fought in his own hometown, or very seldomly. He's always fighting some tough guy in some tough guy's hometown with the deck stacked against him.
Well, Ed Cotton, the referee, has not noticed that Young is fighting without a mouthpiece. He too lost his about 30 seconds ago. It is laying near the center of the ring, and they continue to fight on here in the 4th round. Good right hand thrown by Buster Mathis. He's really surprising in how quick his hand speed is. He can throw a combination at you, and really you don't even realize he's hit you about 3 or 4 times. Very good quickness with the hand speed, as he's warned again for keeping punches up. Second time that he's out here there in the round. And now they stop the action to get the mouthpiece in. And the mouthpiece belongs to Buster Mathis again. I thought it was Young that had it out. Second time for Buster Mathis. Interesting enough, they've taken him to that same opposite corner each time to wash out the mouthpiece.
And Cotton let him know the next time it came out that it cost him.
By the way, you mentioned Young having fought some great people. Of course, he lost in the 1st round knockout to Mike Tyson. He said, boy, was that a stunner. Said, I never even really saw that one coming in December of '85. He's also lost to James Quick Tillis. Also lost a 10-round decision to Jose Revolta. 7 rounds. He went with George Foreman, Alex Stewart in 5 before being knocked out. And also Greg Page.
You know, and a lot of those fights, though, you know, you say he got knocked out. He was never knocked down or even hurt by Alex Stewart, really, who's a big puncher. Young, he fought for 6 rounds. He was exhausted, and he quit on the stool in between rounds. Similar thing with the Foreman fight. Yeah, he fought George hard for as long as he could go, and then, you know, he decided that discretion was the better part of valor. So records can be very deceiving.
Well, right now, these guys are letting it all hang out again, and Buster Mathis has Young on the ropes. He finally clinches to come out of there with 20 seconds left to go in the 4th round.
And Mark is succumbing to this brutal pace here, and Buster Mathis Jr., he kind of likes it, I think, Sam.
He thrives on that. Buster, one of those fighters, even though he's been in only 10 professional fights, he's been 8 once, got a knockout there, and went 10 in his last fight, a tough one with Levi Billups at the end of 4 rounds here. Well, the crowd's got to love it. And again, as you take a good close look at Buster Mathis, and we're not saying anything on the air that Buster has not hurt before, he does not look like a heavyweight guy that can be in there and punch hard with you. Other side, Mark Young, of course, somewhat of a little bit more of a chiseled body for him. But Buster Mathis Jr., again, one of those unlikely looking contenders, but he is 10-0 in the heavyweight division. Round number 4 featured some good action. Let's take a look at that from Mathis again.
Yeah, Buster landed that right hand there on the temple of Mark Young. He's got Young holding on.
Couple of good right hands. Let's see if Young was able to retaliate off the ropes there. Dug a pretty good left hand to the body, but got caught again with another couple of combinations and kept digging that left jab into the face of Buster Mathis. So the exchange continued through round 4 as Young readies for the 5th round of his scheduled 10-rounder here. This is round number 5 of a scheduled 10-rounder, but we're momentarily held up as they're waiting for a moment to get a glove taped up on the right hand of Mark Young. Referee Ed Cotton is satisfied that it has been taped up successfully, and now the 5th round is underway. Buster Mathis again on the left with a white with a blue stripe. One of the things that Buster Mathis was advised early on in his life was simply be yourself. It's better to be hated for who you are than to be loved by those that say you're something that you're not. Advice that he follows every day. Quiet, unassuming young man, but in the ring, he can be kind of tough, as Young is finding out today.
Yeah, he's got a little mean streak in him in that ring. I'll tell you something, we're talking about Buster Mathis Jr. I really want to say Brian Lee and Bruce Kelty, the 2 guys that have him, they're really a pleasure to work with. They're solid boxing guys. They haven't, you know, got the reputation of some of the top guys working with fighters, but I think that they'll earn it over a period of time because they really know their work, and they've done a great job with this young fighter.
By the way, Bruce always furnishing you with some of the other quotes and notes from Buster Mathis, and we'll share some of those others. One of the jobs he hates, cutting grass for the neighbors. Early on as a youngster, said he had hay fever and hated it. But he made a little extra money along the way. Tried baseball, basketball, football. When he first told me that, he said, I was bad. You know, that's normally a term that you're pretty good. He said, no, I was bad. I was not good at all. And went on to box, and certainly he's had good success there.
The pace is getting to Mark Young here, Sam. You can just see the way that, you know, he's doing less and taking deeper breaths and resting in these exchanges. I think Buster Mathis is taking control of this fight right now. But one of these looping punches on a guy 240 pounds like Mark Young sure can change things around.
Right back into ground zero, if you will. Buster Mathis, again, a little bit of control in round 3. May have had a little bit more in round 4. A warning coming from Ed Cotton earlier, you may recall, for spitting out his mouthpiece for a second time. That kind of weighing on his mind as he chomps a little harder on it. And even Ed Cotton is having to work a little bit more as the heavyweights start to clinch a little more frequently here in the 5th round.
Yeah, he'll earn his money tonight with these two guys. But they, you know, they're clinching. They're taking advantage of a little holding and a little positioning. But they're doing a lot of fighting in there, Sam.
By the way, Ed Cotton could probably jump center for a lot of good college teams around the country. Very tall, angular referee. First time we've had a chance to see him here in Atlantic City watching these heavyweights.
Yeah, he's got that overhead shot with these guys without seeing
it. Without any camera we ever had. Closing seconds of the 5th round. And now they're going to stop it for a moment. And again, that's an indication Ed Cotton does not think about where the round is, because he shouldn't. He's just got to referee the fight. If there's 2 seconds, 1 second, he makes the decision to stop, get the glove taped up, and we had 9 seconds before the end of the round.
Very good point.
He does not anticipate, and to my mind, that's a good thing. You don't say, okay, I'm near the end of the round, I'll let something go, or
right. No,
you got to call it as you see it and do exactly what you feel must be done, and he does in this case. So they have the tape up. 9 seconds left to go in the round, and we'll finish it out here in round number 5. Well, they've added a couple of seconds apparently on the round, as now they indicate the closing 10 seconds of the round. So we are just finishing up the 5th round, and there it is.
Good double hook by Mark Young right at the end of that round, but I don't think enough to win it for him.
What are you doing on your scorecard right now, Bob? Looks like Mathis pretty much in control after a couple of even first 2 rounds, huh?
Yeah, I've got him ahead by 3 rounds now after scoring the first 2 even. As I said earlier, I think that, you know, Buster Mathis, he came out, he set a good pace, and Mark Young was right there with him.
This is near the end of the round. You can see a couple of shots thrown there by Mark Young, but look at Buster Mathis. He comes right back with a couple of his own. That was a pretty good left hook by Young.
Good solid left hooks by Mark Young right at the end of the round, but not enough to swing it for him, I don't think so.
And Buster looking at him saying, where did that punch come from? I don't remember that one on any tapes I've ever seen. So the seconds are whistled out. We get ready to start the 6th round, as again we are scheduled for 10 in this heavyweight division. Our heavyweight explosion continues in round number 6 here, as Corona Extra brings you the biggest, baddest guys in the world battling in Atlantic City at Resort International Casino Hotel. Sam Smith along with Bob Spagnola with you today, and thanks for tuning in. Mark Young on the left, now with his back to you is Buster Mathis Jr. as they switch sides. Mathis showing some pretty good patience here, Bob, and the fact that he is just fighting his fight. You made mention he is pacing the fight just exactly the way he'd like for it after a rather hectic start.
Right, well, he did. He set a strong pace early, although he's into the boxing mode now, you know, standing here. But I think the more he pushes Mark Young, the better off he'll be, because Mark likes to rest and pick his spots to fight like he's doing really right now, rather than that hell-bent kind of an aggressive thing that Buster was started early in the fight. That's what he's got to do. He can't let Mark Young set the pace, because Mark could go all night, you know, playing and monkey shining.
Well, you can see Buster keeps him trapped on the ropes, and he dug a big right hand to the body. Boy, that took some wind out of Mark Young.
Yeah, and then a left hook afterwards after he brought Mark's hands down. But Young's a very durable guy. No one single clean shot has hurt him during his career, but it's conditioning that's always given him a problem. But those body shots, they'll lead to that conditioning problem. And there goes Buster trying to lean into it.
Buster again digging those shots to the body, and some of those right on the belt line, even though he has been warned a couple of times to keep the punches up, and of course a couple of times also for spitting a mouthpiece out. And you see that right hand again to the body. Boy, those have got to take their toll. A little blood coming out of the mouth now, Mark Young.
Quite a bit of blood, and every time Buster lands that good right hand to the body, he follows with a nice left hook up top on the other side, and that's really been an effective combination for him.
Buster Mathis Jr., greatest achievement, he says, graduating from junior college and going on and coming down from 310 pounds all the way down to 180 pounds at one time, and now fighting back up in the heavyweight at 224. His biggest disappointment, that his father has such poor health. He can't come with him on the road and enjoy him fighting in the ring. Half a minute to go in round number 6.
Buster walking to him with a good, strong jab there. He's got Mark really confused here at this point as the tape comes loose again, and I'm sure another good left hook by Buster on the inside.
There's another left hook just as Young came out, and look at Buster going in. He's feeding that right hand right up the middle of the defense on Young. Closing seconds of the 6th round as the youngster from Grand Rapids, Michigan starts to take more control at the end of the 6th. Crowd here in Atlantic City a little disappointed, I think, because after that first 2 rounds, Bob, it has settled down into Buster Mathis doing what he wants to with this guy, Mark Young, out of Charlotte, North Carolina, as Mathis again is just charging and doing at will.
Yeah, Buster here, that one was a little bit low, but then he came to the right hand was a little low, and it Mark grimaced a little bit, but Buster stayed right on him.
And he keeps him in the corner, and mostly feeding punches right up the middle is Mark Young. Again, they're still working on that right glove, getting that tape secured, as Bill Early more or less trying to keep him condition-wise to stay in the fight here as we head for the 7th round. On the other side, Buster Mathis getting his instruction, both Brian and Bruce working on him. Very confident young man. Takes one last swig of water as he heads for the 7th.
Come on, Sec, let's go!
And then another.
7 of 10 scheduled in the heavyweight division. Buster Mathis Jr. from the left. His father, a heavyweight contender back in the mid-60s, fighting some of the great names, including Ali and Frazier. Fighting on his own merit with a 10-0 record against Mark Young in the gray and black trunks out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Young, the consummate opponent. He'll stay in, he'll battle with you, and also will shock you along the way, and I think he may have done that to Buster in the first round as they stood toe-to-toe for more than 2 minutes of that first round, neither giving any quarter.
Yeah, they certainly set a great pace, but you know, with heavyweights, they have a tendency to settle down a little bit and take a round off here and there, but that's what makes Buster so different. He, if anything, to look at him, you'd think he'd be the one that wanted to rest.
Buster is single, devotes much of his time in the ring, loves being home with his mom and dad. So just having his mom around gives him such confidence and such strength. She's been a tower for certainly his father and now with him in the boxing ring, and that's got to be tough on a mom to watch her son be beat up, even though Buster dishes out a lot of his own.
Yeah, he sure does. This is a good little fight for him, though. They, you know, they were looking for matches for Buster Mathis Jr. after the big win over Levi Billups, but his people they said, hey, look, you know, what about Mark Young? Oh, no, Mark Young, he's got a bad record, but, you know, they didn't want to, you don't want to take a step up after you beat Levi Billups. You know, you got to settle down. The kid's only got 10 fights. You know, it's no sense every time you have a fight, you don't always take a step. You get to a certain level, you stabilize at that level, and then you move up. And I think this is an excellent match for him. Mark Young's given a good account of himself. Everybody's getting an honest giving an honest day's work.
Mathis again has had Young pretty well trapped on the ropes most of the day here in Atlantic City. And with a minute to go in round number 7, that status has continued as he chases Mark again into the corner. Good combination, sets down on those punches pretty well. Young endured both the left and right hooks. Buster digging inside, the uppercut. That was one of the weapons that Brian Lee said might be one they could use on Young. And another big punch by Mathis.
Excellent shots by Buster Mathis Jr. He's painting Mark Young right now with good, clean shots. Young slowed down as far as his offensive work goes. He's pretty much in a defensive mode right now. But he can always jump out of there. That's the thing about Mark Young. You can't just throw caution to the wind and go after him.
Mark Young back to the rope has been the scenario for the first 6+ rounds as we're in the closing seconds of the 7th. And now both fighters almost seem to kind of waltz with each other, trying to get a last gasp of air before they take the break between rounds. Referee Ed Cotton has to step in there in a big hurry again and almost got clocked with another right hand that time at Mr. Mathis as he reared back. Mark Young going in talking to Bill Early. And they're looking inside that mouth to see where the blood is coming from. On the lip, it looked like for a moment. On the other side, Buster Mathis taking an early shower here. 23 years of age, 6 feet tall, 224 pounds. And let's take a look again as Mathis. Boy, big right hand there, Bob.
Yep, big right hand. I mean, you know, when you got your back to the ropes like Mark Young does, there's no place to go to get out of the way of a long, straight right hand. And Buster put one on him right here.
You know, Young was beating him a little bit of a left hand, and Buster just walked through it. A great straight hand there, right hand by Mathis. Surely heavyweight explosion going on here in the 7th round as they go for round 8. These heavyweights huffing and puffing are set for 10. Round number 8 of our heavyweight explosion. Mark Young, Buster Mathis Jr. just almost reluctant to get off their stools as they come out here to answer the 8th round. Young digging shots, trying to get some body shots to Buster Mathis. Catching a lot of those on the elbows, though.
They're trying to, Mark Young's corner trying to tell Mark, you know, he's getting tired over there. You know, he's complaining. I could tell Bill Early's in the corner trying to, motivate him. Come on, Mark. You got it. You've been here before. You got to fight right now. You got 3 rounds to go to take control. Try to get back into this fight. What's that saying? The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak.
And now they're going to go to the neutral corners. They'll work on that tape still one more time. And every time we've had a fight and this happens, we always come up with the word duct tape. There, of course, is that waterproof type tape that you can put on. And I wouldn't be surprised if some commission somewhere doesn't say that's what we're going to use.
Or some Velcro.
Something. I mean, you can put as many rounds of tape as you can, but they're putting it on top of wet tape, and it's just going to come loose again.
Yeah, Mark does have some gray, looks like duct tape underneath that other one. Buster certainly does have some on his.
Yeah, he does, as a matter of fact. He's got the last little round where the tape stopped. He's got it on duct tape to stop the end of the tape from coming loose. So a stoppage here, the 8th round, and now we've resumed the count as Buster Mathis on the left. You can see him using the left jab, always looking to go downstairs. And I just keep harking to the old saying, you can't tell a book by its cover. You look at Buster Mathis, you wouldn't have a prayer to say this kid can fight a lick. But I want to tell you, he can fight. He can take some punishment. He dishes it out. He just kind of rumbles. He gets inside. He punches outside. He's got a big heart.
And his conditioning. I mean, he's in tremendous condition. He sets a heck of a pace for a heavyweight, and he is there. I mean, Levi Phillips was waiting for Buster Mathis Jr. to slow down in every round of that fight, waiting for him to get tired. I was kind of waiting myself. Because, it was his first time at a distance like that, and the pace was so furious. Same thing here.
And, of course, one of our heavyweight explosions up the Fernwood Resort up in Pennsylvania, in the Poconos. And in that 9th round, Phillips finally got to Buster Mathis, knocked him down in the 9th. And I think a real show of character of Buster Mathis. He came back and knocked Phillips down in that same round. What a show that was for him.
And the referee using the standing 8 count, I think, will end up being a real important point in Buster Mathis' career, because he was badly hurt. He'd lost his equilibrium, and a guy like Levi Phillips can finish you. If he hadn't got the benefit of that, he picked himself up. I mean, he wasn't down, but I mean, he picked himself up. He stabilized himself, and he went right after Levi Phillips and took over and won that round and ended up dropping Phillips.
A good right-left combination, scoring again at the end of the 8th round. A lot of these pity-pat punches that he's throwing Mathis is always followed by one crisp punch, either a hook or a straight right or left hand as he fights to the end of round 8.
Right, he changes the speed of his punches.
So both fighters, you may recall if you were with us from the very start of this fight, and what a hectic first round that was. The second round was almost the same ditto carbon copy. You didn't expect them maybe to be going towards the 9th round, but here we are in between the 8th and the 9th.
And here's Buster as he does the shoe shine in there a little bit, but he tries to finish these combinations with a thud. You know, he changes the speed of his punches so that his opponent never knows that this is going to be one of those little slaps, is this going to be the one with thunder on it.
Look at 23-year-old Buster Mathis. No nicks so far. Other side, just some bleeding from, I believe, the bottom lip by Mark Young. Otherwise, both are unmarked here through 8 full rounds. And they get ready to answer the bell for round number 9. They're set for 10. Heavyweights, Mathis against Young. Six more minutes are set for this heavyweight fight, but now they've taken another timeout as we get ready to start the 9th. And guess what? It is the tape again. Again, they're working on which glove? The left glove this time? I think so. Even the crowd getting a little tired of this going on, as referee Ed Cotton has been in this posture about as many times tonight as any. It is interesting in this situation. The bell had sounded. Cotton allows Buster Mathis Jr. to stay on his stool across the way. As even Ed Cotton is helping him with some tape now. Bill Hurley, a little squirt of water in the back of Mark Young. All right, Mathis finally comes off the stool, and we're boxing here as the time is underway, and now the two heavyweights stroll towards each other in the center of the ring. Almost a shutout thrown on our cards. As a matter of fact, just looking over your shoulder, Bob, you've got it a shutout going here as we head to the 9th. All of the rounds been scored to Buster Mathis. A couple of rounds were even. Otherwise, he's had a good closing 6 rounds as we're fighting here in the 9th.
Yeah, he realized he's taken over. He's setting the pace of the fight. He's the one. Mark is, in his typical form, is fighting just enough to lose, as Mickey Duck is famous for coining that phrase. And he's just, but that's what makes him a good opponent. That's what makes him a great opponent.
Mathis again being encouraged by his corner just to keep the jab going. And ready to throw the right hand when you get in there. There's that left hook. Look how quickly he explodes with that left hook. Got to throw something stronger than that, of course, to put Young backwards, because he is a durable fighter. But it lets you know it's there.
Sure, he's establishing the punch. I mean, you don't knock everybody out. A guy like Mark Young, regardless of his record, he's ready for this fight. He trained for it, and he is no easy guy to get out of there at all. Conditioning is the thing that usually stops Mark Young, and because he prepared for this fight and was ready, it's he isn't up to speed to the Buster Mathis Jr. on his work rate, but he's kept it interesting.
Buster Mathis on my unofficial card with a 5-point lead going here to the 9th round of this fight after what I figured was 3 even rounds. You had 2 on your card, Bob, so another point advantage there for Buster Mathis. All 10-9 rounds other than the 10-10 that we scored. But of course, all of our scoring with that and probably what, $1.20, you can get a cup of coffee anywhere in Atlantic City, I think. Judges will score on a 10-point must system at the end of the fight.
But Buster, he's trying some different things. He's trying to get low in front of Young, which he couldn't dare do earlier in the fight. And he's bending and landing some shots. Cotton almost ran in there and warned him for a low blow, but didn't try to do it. He just turned into the side there.
And there comes the tape loose on the left glove again of Young. You can see it right down below his waist there on the left. One of the main reasons that you do stop it is that the tape, of course, it is one of those loose elements that can flop into an eye, certainly can do some eye damage. That basically is the one thing. Also, if it were enough of the tape taken off, it would expose the lacings, which is another hazard you have to avoid. But mostly the tape flopping in the eye and creating some damage that way.
Right, a loose tape end like that getting in an eye could do some damage.
Right at the end, just kind of snapping right at the eye. Closing seconds of round 9. They will officially go to the final 3 rounds of this fight. Well, Ed Cotton, the third man in the ring. Well, he stayed rather busy through the middle rounds. You may recall the first couple of rounds they were banging at each other. He didn't dare go close. Then the mid rounds they started clinching each other. Mathis and Young both as they try to pace their fight. And so far it's been Buster Mathis. Good look at him as he's chased Mark Young mostly to the ropes and scoring. One thing that's also impressed me here, Bob, about Buster Mathis, not only very likable young man, very congenial when we have a chance to talk to him, very good listener. He understands and he knows the guys know a lot about boxing and he wants to share that with them. As again, Young and Mathis in the 9th round. That left hook. One of those did stray a little bit low, didn't it? So the second's out, and they'll go to the final 3 minutes. Let's see if Young throws caution to the wind. Let's find out as we'll have our 10th round coming up.
You can see the referee.
Round number 10 is here. Referee Ed Cotton motioning both the corners to touch gloves and listen to the crowd. They want something to happen here. Yeah, Mark Young on the right, Buster Mathis Jr. on the left. Heavyweight explosion from Atlantic City.
The referee borrowed some tape from Buster Mathis Jr.'s corner and brought it over to Mark Young. They said, well, Buster's is working.
So apparently the young folks from Charlotte brought some lousy tape. We'll see if that works. All right, let's see what happens as Mark Young pull out all the stops. He's down on the cards, no doubt about that. And how cautious does Buster Mathis get in this situation?
I don't think Buster Mathis will get very cautious. It's just it's not really in his makeup. You know, Mark knows he's going to finish this fight because Buster Mathis doesn't really have the kind of one-punch power to get him out of there, and he's got some pride. He's got a lot of pride, but he doesn't, you know, he doesn't want to get knocked out. But in the same vein, you know, he should be trying to get Buster out of here because that's the only way he can win this fight. He's certainly not going to win a decision after, you know, the last 6 rounds of this fight.
Well, I tell you what, it'll be interesting to get the comments up in the ring, and you'll be up there with the winner of this fight, getting those comments between the 2 fights. And it'll be interesting to see how Buster Mathis and those, of course, handling here in the corner, both Brian and Bruce, have a little scorecard for the youngster from Grand Rapids. Got to give him some pretty solid marks this afternoon. Again, digging another right hand that might have been just a tad low again.
Yeah, and Young tried a strong uppercut, tried to walk in with a strong right uppercut that Buster barely slipped.
One fear, of course, the round is not over. One fear that both corners had told us they might expect is a clash of heads. Fortunately, we've been able to stay away from that. That would be unfortunate for either one of these fighters.
No, just the way their styles matched up, they were worried about that early on, and rightly so. It hasn't happened here.
Buster, by the way, a man after my own heart, loves pizza. You can imagine there'll be a few pizzas in his career after this one tonight in this fight in Atlantic City. Merv Griffin at Resorts International, his fine staff rolling out the red carpet for our heavyweight explosion staff. We appreciate it as always. Internationally known promoter Cedric Kushner watching on at ringside as he watches the 2 heavyweights rumble in the 10th round.
And regardless of the crowd's reaction here, this has been a good heavyweight fight, Sam. You know, there's good action here. Both guys giving it their all, and it's just that neither one of them was the kind of a puncher to, you know, people sometimes want to see a knockout, and they're not happy unless they see somebody walking around on his hands and knees.
Closing 20 seconds. There's that bang, 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 bang by Buster Mathis as he's done that frequently in this fight. Near the end of the round, just simply trying to impress the judges a little more. Look how hard he keeps working here at the end of the 10th round. Kid may not be one of those picture-perfect heavyweights for you, but he has got a great effort going here as they close out the fight in the 10th and final round of this fight in Atlantic City. So both fighters, again, have had themselves a good opportunity to battle each other, and they've done a good job of it. Mark Young coming in only 13-18-2. While Buster Mathis Jr. looking for his 11th consecutive win as a professional. Didn't pick up another knockout. He's had only 4 so far through his career, but that will not come today. But you know, he's earned some stripes, and so is this guy, Mark Young. Well, I tell you what, the first 2 minutes of this heavyweight fight was maybe some of the best action of a heavyweight fight we've seen in a long, long time. They paced themselves through the mid-rounds and then, of course, just all surviving through the later rounds. As Young again stayed inside. Mathis, there's that bang, bang, bang attack that he has when he gets underneath it inside. Uppercut by Young. Another weapon that the Mathis people thought might be a weapon they would use before the day was over. Never really got to throw that, or at least it never was a punch that had much success for him. But you can see that left and right hook have been working all day on Young. So as Young and Mathis battle through 10 rounds of heavyweight action here, as they talk to Mathis and are quite confident that he has picked up another one of the victories, going 11-0. But the judges now will have those scores, and Ed Darian will be coming up with the official announcement of the decision as Mark Young waits across the lane and sees if he comes up with a victory or does he lose another one here in Atlantic City. Back here at the Coconut Ballroom, we're just about ready for the official announcement of the decision. Let's go upstairs to our ring announcer. Here's Ed Darian.
Ladies and gentlemen, all three judges, John Riley, Deborah Barnes, and John Stewart, each score 99-91. For the winner by unanimous decision and still undefeated, Buster Mathis Jr. Mathis. Now let's hear one more time for Sovereign Mark Young. Let's hear it for
I think we're back on here. Buster Mathis Jr. again getting the victory as again he goes a unanimous decision, 99-91 on all of the cards. That pretty well goes right along our guidelines here as we too had it scored with a unanimous decision. Actually, I had Mathis winning 10 points in every round, so a 100 points for him, just one shy of what happened there in this fight. As Buster Mathis again has a good effort and is upstairs. He is going to be visited with Bob Spagnola upstairs. He's got Buster Mathis. Let's go to Bob. Bob?
I've got Buster Mathis Jr. here with me. Excellent performance, Buster. Mark Young, he's a tough kid. He gets low on you like that. He's an animated fighter, but it was a really good work fight for you. How do you feel?
I feel good. You know, I've been working on my jab, you know, with my father and Brian Lee, my manager, Bruce Kelty, my manager, and you know, in the fight, I hurt my right hand. You know, and so by using the jab and stuff, I really outpointed him, try to keep my distance. I tried to throw the right hand on him, but it wasn't really working right. You know, I hurt my hand in the fight, but you know, I was in top shape, I was in good shape. I was ready to go 10 rounds, and it was excellent.
No, it was excellent. I saw, you know, in the corner they were telling you, hey, the right hand, I mean the jab, that's the lifesaver. That's what's going to do it in this fight. Right. And Brian had told me after the fight that you hurt the right hand, but you did a good job. The guy's is a tough opponent. It was an excellent win for you. Just the kind of work that a developmental heavyweight at this stage needs right now.
You know, and you know, keep on doing these 10 rounds. You know, because you know a lot of heavyweights out there can't do 10 rounds. You know, and I'm really
excellent conditioning. Yeah.
Excellent conditioning will make me go a long ways in the sport. You know, a lot of people criticize me about my power, and they criticize that I not have a lot of knockouts and stuff. But you know, but able to go 10 rounds. You know, but no, and really put on a performance for these audience is my main concern, and then knocking them out. But and the power will come at the end.
It certainly will. And listen, you accomplished that. They were chanting your name here at the end.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to Sam Smith. Congratulations,
Thank
Buster.
you very much.
Thank you very much, Bob Spagnola, and our thanks to Buster Mathis Jr. Our viewers along the way on Sports South will be taking this momentary timeout. Will be rejoining us for more of our heavyweight explosion from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Because the heavyweight